Retro anime. How did we find it? How does it hold up? Unpacking the ins and outs of being an old school nerd and proving that 80s kids can't remember a damn thing right. These are the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd.
Welcome to Mindless Midlife Musings of the Anime Nerd. I'm Rick, and I'm joined as always by Vic and Brian.
Hola!
Hello.
Our guest this episode is Lynette. Welcome back, Lynette. We're happy to have you.
Hello.
And today, we're revisiting a fan favorite from the mid-90s, famed sex comedy series Golden Boy.
Wait, that's hold up.
What?
That's what you went with.
That's what it is.
That's
Are you a fan?
hold
You
up.
consider it a favorite? So yes, it qualifies.
Hold up.
It's what it is. I don't know. It's literally, listen to the history. This is straight from the internet, so it's got to be true.
Hold up, but wait a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, no. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the manual for any anime nerd in video form. If you want to know how to talk to us, this, like, anybody wants to talk to an anime nerd, but still, if you want to be able to talk to us for business or for dating, this is the way you do it.
I swear to God, if anyone talks to me like Kentaro does, I am turning around and running.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Okay, I'm walking really fast.
Liar. Cat, as the kids are saying. Cat.
No, fine. I won't run. I'll walk very, very fast.
You're going to cream your pants and hug them so tightly.
I strongly doubt that one, but it is what it is.
Well, now hang on. Now let me get through the history here, and then we can get into this. Now, Golden Boy is a Japanese sex comedy manga series. It was written and illustrated by Tatsuya Gawa. Parts of the manga were adapted into a 6-episode OVA series produced by Shueisha and KSS in 1995.
Why is that important?
Why is that important? It's important.
Why is 1995 important?
Oh, well, I mean, we were...
For 1, 2, 3 people here, 1995 is important. That's the year we graduated, ladies and gentlemen.
Right. We were officially done with the education system.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I'm 20.
Vic is representing Gen Z this episode.
Okay, never mind. I lied.
Now, it didn't arrive in North America until 1996, when it was first licensed by ADV Films, and it was, subsequently, it did a lot of distributor hopping as ADV's license to the series expired in 2007. It was later acquired by Media Blasters, who lost the license, and then in 2012, it was acquired by Discotech. So it
still currently has it.
It's around if you want it. This can be had. Amazon has it. Crunchyroll's streaming it. So if you haven't watched it, stop listening to this and go watch it, because we're going to spoil the shit out of this thing.
Oh.
It's very educational.
Study. So let's start with the setup, right? Let's set the scene. It's 1995, 1996. We're just out of high school. It's doing our pretending we know what we're doing, adulting stuff. I first picked up Golden Boy. I remember this one. It was up Suncoast up in Dayland Mall. Suncoast Motion Picture Company had it on the shelf, and of course the artwork immediately drew me in. It was beautiful. But and it's something I remember, and maybe you guys, I'm alone in this, but seemed like it was an only anime thing. But VHS tapes back then, it's like anime decided, how are we going to make ourselves different? We're going to release colored VHS tapes. So there were red ones and white ones and blue ones, and they had what I call the prison window for the tape. Like they had this like little strip that you could see the tape roll. Not like a standard VHS. If you Google a VHS tape, it has got a very defined, unique look. But anime was like, we got to be different. We're doing something different.
Like how all, like, anything that was released from, like, Nickelodeon was on the orange cassette.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
So Golden Boy was a white VHS with a little prison window for the reel. I don't know why I remember
VHS. Anyone under the age of 30 is going to be like, these guys are like 700 years old.
Yeah, that's that. You know what? I accept.
We have to paint the picture because when we redid the research for this one,
Yeah.
it was so much easier.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I drove. We drove. I drove. I think it was the only one of us with a car at the time. I drove
Time.
like an hour up to Dayland Mall to just check out the tiny anime section. Picked up this cassette based on the artwork. Drove all the hell the way home. Then we watched it, and then immediately regretted not having bought any other volume of this anime because we
Yeah.
couldn't afford it at the time, and had to subsequently try and find and buy every following release because we were so addicted to it. That's my exposure to Golden Boy. How that happened for me.
And it
And
was worth every moment.
now, Lynette,
Ugh.
Lynette, how did you get a hold of Golden Boy your first time around? Because like I know Vic and Brian is through me because of my horrible addiction to excellent cover art.
So unfortunately, in 1996, I was just starting high school, so I was not old enough to grab anything from the thrift section. I didn't get it until Brian introduced it to me. He said, "You have to check out this amazing anime. You know, you don't know anime until you've seen this anime, all the thing." And he pops it in, and I'm like, "What am I watching?"
You're watching the most educational thing in anime ever.
It is.
All right. She is being so gracious, and how she is talking about how we got to this point. So we actually go to what year is this? Do you remember what year it is, Lynette?
I wore my chobits with for your convention, right? You asked me to come.
Yeah, we had a anime convention, a Comic Con over in Hampton Roads, and it was over at the Hampton Roads Coliseum Convention Center, like right across the street from it. And as you're going through it, it's believe it or not, it was my first convention I've ever been to. So we go in there and we're just walking through, enjoying all the sights, seeing everybody, the whole freak out of everybody. Oh my God, you're all of that. You get it. So we walk towards the back of the convention, and they have old animes there. And the first one I see is MD Guys. And I'm like,
Oh, that's a
okay,
classic too.
yeah, I'll go back in time and I'll go pick it up for you. So the first one I see is MD Guys. And then I see Golden Boy. It was at that moment that I lost my. There is no way to say, but this 40-something-year-old man sees this, and I am glued. I am, oh, oh my
It's
God.
like the clouds part, the angels start singing.
Right. And from that moment on, I was like, listen, I hadn't bought anything. I hadn't bought a sandwich. I had no drink. I did not. I was like, I'm going to take my account negative because it wasn't just one episode. It was the entire complete series in one disc.
Oh man. Oh man. Of course. Didn't even matter what they were charging for it at that point.
He
I
came back.
don't.
I thought he had bought like a Gundam model set or something with how happy he was. I was like, did you buy a Gundam or something?
He bought something better.
You had
And the
no
next-
idea.
And the
I mean,
next
it was
words.
an anime ambush when we went home. It was
Look. And the next words were, "We have to go home right now."
We're done. This convention
We're
is
done.
over.
And sure enough, we went home, and I told him, "said Listen, you guys just don't know how much this means to me." And I popped it in there, and it maybe for the first 5 minutes, Lynette and my wife Angel, they were like, "What the are we watching?" But then after that, it was a series of them watching the TV and them looking at me like,
was like
Holy
watching
sh-
the reaction videos that you do on YouTube. Where you,
Right. Oh man, I feel like if those existed back then, oh
Oh my
man.
god!
Brian turned into a teenager for that
I
whole
turned to,
gist.
and they were able to understand me for. They're like, because I to this day, if ever I'm talking to somebody, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to write that down. I don't have a notebook, but I pull out a notebook
Like,
and I
yeah,
just start.
pantomime.
Yeah, and I write
I whip
shit
up a
down.
stylus on my phone, and it's like notes.
Just saying, so educational.
This is so educational.
Oh my god. So, yeah, I think that's this anime, in my opinion, is probably one of my most quoted anime.
Easily.
I reference this anime in my everyday vernacular all the time, and if somebody ever catches a reference and kicks it back at me, they are my new best friend. That's just how it is for me.
Easily.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's obscene. There's just so much to this. And honestly, to call it like a sex comedy is sort of to diminish the series because there really is a lot of substance here. And again, this is my opinion. You guys chime in on this one.
It's just hidden under all the.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm telling you right now, I by no means am trying to imply that this sex comedy is in any way highbrow, but there is a lot of complexity to these characters. Just like the complexities of being a young man, and like those are things that I related to because I was one when the anime first dropped for me. So there's a lot of that in you. This like your desire to be honorable, this desire to be respectful, yet this like insatiable like young teenage lust and like all of those things about being a young man that are
Midlife
so
musing lust. Midlife musing lust. Let's be honest.
Well, touche.
Touche.
But there's a lot of layers to this character, Kentaro, that are so just like glossed over because he's obsessed with toilets.
Only his queen's toilet.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is so much more than at face value. Like face value, you pick up the cover, gorgeous art, woman in a skin tight dress. You're like, oh, I know what I'm about to get into. But I really do. I really feel like there's so much more subtext to this, and it's often overlooked. And this is for me, every time I introduce somebody to Golden Boy, it's that make it or break it moment where I figure out whether or not I truly am going to get along with a person based on their reaction to this, because of the humor, because of the style of humor. It's definitely my style of humor because of the complexity of the characters and Kentaro's motivations and all of those things that it sounds like I'm reviewing something way more bold and big than what I'm actually talking about. But that's how much weight it has with me.
So let's go around.
All right.
At what moment did you realize you were going to watch the hell out of this? There has to be one moment when you're like, and I know exactly when the moment was for me, but I need to know, when was the movie you're like, I don't care what happens. I need to make sure I see this in its entirety. And we're talking about only 6 episodes.
Right. This isn't a big.
It's not
6 half-hour episodes. This is not a long slog. I'll go first because I know exactly when it was for me. It is when it's the second the intro dropped, the second the intro started, right? Because there's the whole build up. There's the whole him singing on his bike and being a dork, and then he gets run off the road, and then he gets slapped, and her never stopped jiggling the entire time.
That was it. Look, that was
just as a side note, in the sub, it says boing 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 boing. The whole time. And every time she comes onto the scene, he goes, "Oh, boing boing," and that's all he says.
I was gonna call that moment. Also, boing boing is much better. I was gonna call it the oscillation moment, where like I seriously.
So that all that
It's like the
happens.
giggle factor could not be processed at the time.
That's like all that happens, and then it cuts to that intro, and that intro is animated so seriously, like
Oh,
he is
wow.
gearing up to fly off into battle. As the garage
On his
doors
bike.
opening, and the sunlight's glistening off of the spokes of his bike, and he's adjusting his gloves, and I'm like, oh my god, they know exactly what they're doing. This is amazing, and I have to watch all of it.
And they break so many. Oh my gosh, they break so many expectations. Like immediately after the oscillation of Boing Boing, it's the part where he goes to get the bike fixed, and
Yeah.
he's talking. He's talking to the old man, and then next you know, he leaves. But right as he's leaving, the Yakuza come there and they try to extort the old man, and he walks back like he was about to whip some.
As he's striding with his most serious gaze possible, and then just hard left. Nope.
Oh god, this show is like literal gold.
Oh man, and I will say this. So when I initially watched this on VHS, it was like a drop down hilarious, and it was upon rewatching it for this episode that I said, you know what, I want to read the manga, because if there's more of this than just these six, and I need as much of this in my life as I can get. And I went and I found the manga online. I started reading it, and they did an incredibly good job adhering to the source material. Like all of the things, boing, 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 all that, the cutaways to the dramatic, story, all of that shit's in the manga. So they nailed it, absolutely nailed it.
I feel like the closest thing we have had since this time, since Golden Boy, from that whole comedic versus dramatic perspective, will have to be One Punch Man.
Oh god, yes.
It will have to be where it goes from in a drop of a dime. It goes from serious to comedic to the point you don't even know if they're taking themselves seriously. But,
Exactly.
oh my
It's
gosh.
like, funny, dramatic pose. Or action and then like a derpy look that does not fit anywhere. It's like
It's comedy that's extremely self-aware. And I respect the hell out of comedy that can do that. Like
self-aware and unapologetic.
it does
Yes.
it in such a no, it does it in such a way that it's like they're stopping to wink at the camera, but they never do.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect the hell out of that. But I cut everybody else off. Vic, what was Brian's question? What was your moment that
It was the same thing. Literally the opening scene and then going to the intro. It's like, the intro is so animated well. It looks like the show was going in a totally different direction than what was just shown, and then it's like it never lets up. It's like every episode is something totally different, a totally different educational lesson for Kotaro, and it just never lets up, and you never expect it's going to go in a certain way until it does, and it's like, I can't believe they actually did that, but it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah. Yes. Lynette, was it a forced thing for you, or were you addicted early?
During my second watch, it's when he broke his neck, and he goes, I realized I cannot look back while also looking back.
I literally wrote a note for it. It's in the English dub. He says, "I incurred a neck injury. I tried to look backwards when I was already looking that way. It hurt."
Oh god.
That was the point where I was like, okay.
I related to Kintaro so much in my life because I feel like all the random chaos that has ever happened to him I am like the physical embodiment of that.
Yes, yes. Like every time something goes horribly wrong in your life, it feels like a Kintaro moment. Like, did I just screw this up so bad? And it's a, oh God. Yeah, that's totally get it. That's, um,
This might be the first episode I'm going to leave with tears in my eyes.
You're gonna leave? Those tears better be there now.
between when you first experienced it and the rewatch that we just did. Now, to be clear, just to listeners, we're not rewatching every anime that we're ever going to review.
That's
It's
fair.
not. There's no way that we're not going to slog through 670 something episodes of Dragon Ball or whatever it is we're going to be reviewing.
Well, unfortunately, we're adults and we have bills to pay, so.
But this particular series is so digestible in its little 30-minute chunks that there was no reason to not barrel through it. So I did barrel through it and enjoyed every minute of it. But would you say that you've revisited this series a lot over the years?
I could honestly say I probably have watched it since the VHS days, because I actually do own it on DVD somewhere in here. I've probably have watched it a good dozen or so times. So since in the last 22 years, a dozen or so times. And it never gets old.
So my first time watching it, after we got the first one, right? And Suncoast. Now, here's what happened with us. 1995, 96. I'm in college.
Right.
Right. So while you're driving up to go get to Suncoast, I'm not with you. But then when I came back, it's like, hey man, you gotta watch this. And I watched it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, I gotta go back to school. So each time I came back, there was hopefully another video there.
There's more to be seen.
But at one point in time, it felt like we didn't get them all in order.
We didn't. Well, you're right. To be fair, we did not buy them all in order, and this is a common problem in the in the 80s and 90s. Is when you found anime, you didn't just find Volume 1 and then Volume 2 and then Volume 3. So I'm fairly certain it was 1 and 2, and then it was like 5. And then I think 3, 4, 6. So it was like completely asinine out of order.
I remember that. So yeah. So right.
And luckily, Golden Boy is a series you don't have to actually watch it, or you just got to make sure you watch the last episode last.
Right, but which we didn't. Like, there's no way you would have known. Like any other series, you try and pull this off. Almost any other series, it's not going to work as well. But because each story here is so self-contained, it really does work. And we were lucky because we didn't get it all at once.
Like each one is a completely different. Each one.
Yeah, it's a whole separate arc. It's a whole separate story, but it's just more of the same. It's like revisiting an old friend and listening to his crazy story.
God, are they crazy?
So, did you? I feel like it's a setup. It's an easy set. This is a underhanded toss to each of you. Favorite episode?
That is super easy. Episode 4, Swimming in the Sea of Love. I will leave it at that.
No. Please explain, sir.
I will not explain. I'm a grown man. I'm entitled to my privacy, damn it.
Hey, nobody they're sending all the marriage requests to me. You can say what
it's the way he starts talking about her, the swim girl whose name eludes me, is the way he opens up with her with the beast. The beast.
The part where he says, the beast inside of you is waking the beast inside of me.
Oh god. So the girl's name in that episode is Ayuko Hayami.
Okay.
And just to appease Brian, I'm just gonna read the description for the episode. Like, in the dead of winter, a pool is the last place Kentaro wants to work at. But the chief swimming instructor is hot enough to lure him in. There's just one problem. Kentaro doesn't know how to swim. But that doesn't stop him from challenging his new boss to a swimming contest. And he'll only have a month to prove he's got what it takes.
Oh my god, this episode. This episode is so much. All right, so true story. This episode taught me how to teach my son to swim. Not lying. Not lying at all. I growing up in Florida, swimming comes naturally to a lot of us. I don't remember how I learned to swim, but I know for a fact the that he uses to teach the kids in this episode is the I did for my son.
And it's because the show is so educational.
True story. When I came to Virginia, I applied to be a lifeguard in a pool. And one of the biggest things we had to do was to do basically like a 100-meter dash. You have to swim down and swim back, right? But it's supposed to be a race.
Did you almost drown, Brian?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I feel like I already know this is going. Go ahead.
So I go and I get ready to launch it off, right? Now, among our friends, I was always the quickest swimmer. Always the quickest, right? Unless your name was Kenny and you ran for national, but that's neither here nor there. I was the quickest swimmer.
That's because no one else wanted to get into the water.
That's fair. Look,
we won by default.
A W is a W.
Right?
So,
no participation trophies in this area.
So it was my first time swimming with other people, right? So we had a whole, and we had people who were on the swim team. I did not know this at the time. I'm like 21-ish. I go and I kick off and I push off and I do my whole, little swim thing. And I opened my eyes underneath and I had goggles, so I was able to see that I was still in last place. And at that moment, I say to myself, "Oh, but I'm still underwater."
Just picture Brian standing up, heaving, and not being able to breathe.
So, how do you like my swimming?
Exactly. I'm dying, and so I didn't even make it back. I made it to the stop, turned around, and when I turned around, they had sent somebody else is coming after me. And I turned around, touched the ball, looked back at him. I'm like, nah.
He sent rescue after you.
And so, yeah, it's very hard to watch that part.
Oh man, it's when he gets to the other side and it cuts back and it's all dramatic. So, how do you think my swimming? I'm dead. Every time with that episode.
Okay, Brian, what's your favorite episode?
It's not that one.
I don't care. What's your favorite episode? I got put on the spot. Now it's your turn. Huh?
Balls to the wall?
Yes.
BMO, baby.
And the reason why that's the only one out of all the episodes, that's the only one where you see him do superhuman
Because his brakes are broken.
That's the only one where you're like, how he's riding on a power line.
And he
never stops.
This anime, and I don't want to devolve too far into this conversation at this time, but I just want to say that this anime, with what they did with the dub, the localization, there's some absolute brilliance in it that isn't even in the Japanese dub. And in that episode in particular, it's when she's grinding on her bike and she's really getting all worked up. In the anime, there's not as much talking, but in the English dub, Kentaro doesn't shut the up the entire time. He is losing his damn mind, and it's hilarious. It's just I don't know if he ad-libbed it. I have no idea, but it was just so much more vocalization happening, and it was hilarious. I loved that. And and Kintaro rope, and he's like leaps off the back of the car and he's flying through the air and he's like, Kintaro rope away, and he like tosses the rope to grab on. That's not in there. That's not in the Japanese one. He's just they don't call it Kintaro rope. They just decided that's what he would call it, and it was it's just I love that. It was
Well,
just
it's
brilliant.
like the series was just so funny that when they were dubbing it, they just went with it. They just had to go with it. It's like
It would not surprise me. So yes, that episode has so much just
That man, study.
Right.
And when he
The
started,
episode ends and he keeps on going.
Thank you graciously. Like all of those little, like he's having to try and be a monk. He's like, thank you graciously. All right, Lynette, what about you? What was your one?
I would have to be the danger, the virgin's first love, and mostly because when he tries to save the girl's honor.
Yes, I absolutely.
The unbutton, the rebutton, the zipper,
Yeah.
the
It's so
and
good.
then he has the wrong hand, and it just
Oh,
goes.
man.
I can't watch it because I'm laughing too hard, but
Yeah.
that is just the best scene.
Oh man, and then that's the first time. That's the first episode. You're 3 episodes in. That's the first episode where you realize Kintaro's a little bit more than he seems. When he busts out the Kempo and kicks the guy's ass, and like I said, he's like, I opened a can of whoop on him. I foolishly used my Kempo style. Like it's just like, oh my god, there's so much under the surface for this character that it's.
but the
Oh.
way it's the way I could feel that the whole goofiness of him. There's such an earnest when he's like going all over the place, like, I hope you like me.
There's almost and I don't want to make it too. It's not like a super strong comparison, but there's like a jerk-like quality to him. Like there's this sort of ignorance that Steve Martin has as a character, the jerk. Not completely that far off the deep end, but there's just that sort of idiocy to him that is just really charming. I don't know. He's a great character.
Innocent stupidity.
It's basically what if this whole anime is about Naruto's sexy jutsu? That's this.
But funnier.
Yes, and
But funny.
he embraces all of his awkward situations.
Yeah, he leans into him hard. You're so right, and it's great. I just and how his character is so, for somebody is so wild, he's so reserved, right? Like in the second episode with the psycho daughter, it's when she steals his notebook and she's reading through his notebook, she's like, holy shit, this guy's had me figured out since day one. Like he didn't call her out on her bullshit. He lets her do her thing the whole time. He's like, this is very educational. I'm going to write notes about this chick with her Electra complex. It's just so good. And yeah, for me, I think it's the first episode is my favorite. And that's because of all, I think when I first watched it, I was getting into computers a lot. So there's so much about that. And it's when he stares at the screen and he thinks he's going to teach him all some shit, and he's like so confident. Let's watch this. He just cuts, what is this? I'm like, yep, that's me. Every time I look at code, it's 100% me. Since I didn't have a computer, I had to teach myself using a keyboard made of paper. Like, oh my god. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh man.
What they got me was the saving power. We have to save power. Boom.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
No, don't do it. Who shut off my server? And he's just all the flashes in his head of how gloriously awarded he's about to become.
But did you see? But that's an awesome part right there because we're talking about how often it switches between it ultimately feels like, all right, I'm trying to figure out the best way to say it. So he's getting cussed out. He's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And then she goes off and hauls off and spits at him. And the first thing
He just catches it.
Completely unexpected reaction. Absolutely
He just opens his mouth.
did not see that coming at all. Oh.
I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And then you just see the fury.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And I love, that's one of the things that I love about that episode too is, and I know they do it every episode, but the first time I saw it happening in this episode, I knew it was something so cool. And it was the way that the animation style changes dramatically from scene to scene. Like the whole overall is beautiful. Egawa's artwork is great, but every time they cut to his reactions and it's like lightning bolts behind him and it gets so dramatic and that oh man, I love that so much. Like in episode 3 when the girl Noodle Girl's on her way out the door and they're like, "Oh, where are you going?" She's like, "Oh, I'm out on a date." And he's just his back and he turns around and is like, "Date."
My favorite episode, my favorite part of that episode is the whole bowing scene.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah. Talking about, oh, but I couldn't possibly. Oh, but you absolutely could. Oh, no, thank you.
And every person is bowing and doing it. The best part that would have made that could have made it better if they had the guy who was the regular customer.
Yeah. Yeah,
if
like
he had bowed in, dude, if he had bowed into, done. Right.
There's I have a complaint. I have a negative for this, and it's that he never.
You gotta leave. You're out. You're fired.
He never. They set it up, and I watched every episode. I'm like, all right, the tail end of this series is going to be this, and it didn't happen. He never saved the world.
Oh no.
They kept dropping that in there, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be the payoff, right? That's the ultimate joke is that this kid on his bike's going to save the world, and he never did. So that's a strike.
People's worlds, but he never actually saved the actual world.
It's a strike in my eyes. Damn it! He should have saved the world on his bike.
That's fair. Fair. Anybody else have any complaints?
The only complaint I have is that there weren't more episodes.
Touche.
I could have easily used another 5 or 6 hours worth.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they could be rebooted.
No.
I don't want to reboot. I want a continuation.
No. Did you have a favorite girl? Any of you have a favorite girl?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was.
And why? And this is this important suffix to the question. And why?
The why part is a good question.
I'm actually want to hear Lynette's version of.
My favorite chick, it's so funny, but my favorite chick was Balls to the Wall chick because she was crazy. I was like, I got mad respect for this girl.
Oh god, she was nuts. That was Reiko.
Her BMO baby. That was it.
Man. That girl was thirsty. Actually, everybody in this show is thirsty, but Reiko was like,
she loved Mike a little too much.
Look, believe it or not, I have a least favorite girl.
A least favorite? Okay, all right.
And that's the last girl.
Oh, Che from the animation episode.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like, and I've got story for this, but I'll chime in on that after everybody else has a chance to go. Vic, your favorite girl?
It would be Ayuko from Swimming in the Sea of Love. I mean,
okay,
just the way she was, like a swimming coach. She was like a pro swimmer, and the way she behaved when this nobody was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna outswim you," and then literally nearly drowns in the middle of the pool. It's like that just had me as someone who can't swim for the life of if life depended on it. I related to that episode too much.
I agree with Lynette. My favorite was Reiko with her bike. I thought that she was hilarious and just like you said, there's just an insane quality to her that I found just great. Anyway,
I guess you mentioned 40-something minutes into this episode The show is not for kids.
Oh, yeah, no.
I feel like famed sex comedy in the opening probably should have cleared that up. But yeah, let's go with that disclaimer. This is
Which
definitely
is
not for
important
kids.
because you can find it on Crunchyroll right now.
Yes, and it is rated TVMA.
Man, okay, you know what? That's an accurate rating, right? Because this isn't explicit. Well,
It's not
No.
explicit, but it is perverse.
Episode 5 is pretty, but it's not explicit. So Brian, you don't have a favorite girl, you have a least favorite girl.
Actually, I have to say mine is Reiko.
Yeah? Yeah.
I mean that's the swim chick, right?
Oh, swim chick. No, that's this Vic.
That's Ayuko.
Ayuko.
Sure, pudding girl. Her.
So all right, so this isn't like mindless midlife musings kind of stuff, but it is all about episode 6, all right? So episode 6, clearly full of meta humor, right? You could tell just by watching the episode that there's a lot of inside jokes to be had here in this episode. It is the only episode of the series not based on the manga. So that is kind of telling in its own way because Che is so underutilized, the female character. For all of the perversion and the whatnot that happens in this series, Tatsuya Agawa writes a lot of really fleshed out female characters. In my opinion, these are successful women. You know, there's Madam President, Scary Lady, and Noodle Girl. She's an earnest, hardworking girl. The swim coach. She's a successful entrepreneur. Like, there's a lot of strong female characters in this, and Che is not. And I feel like that's probably because he probably didn't write her. Somebody can tell me if I'm wrong on that one, but based on my rudimentary research and just comparing it to the manga, right? The manga did a whole episode that was sort of in that same genre, the whole meta humor thing, but it was based on publishing because, of course, it was a manga, so the humor would be more relevant. So the anime episode uses some of the same characters, but redistributes them into an anime setting, an animation setting. So yeah, I feel like that's probably why she's the weakest character in the series, in my opinion. But Tatsuya Agawa.
I'm sorry. Let's go further into that. You could tell it's telling in the episode.
Yeah.
For instance, episode 1, the computer person, top Madam President.
Right.
All right. Episode 2, the top girl is not the mother of the mafia; it's the daughter. But
right.
They've given her, she's daddy princess, and she's done this many times.
Right. It's a position of power. She's coming
Right.
into it.
Episode 3 is the first time when they break away from that.
Right.
Because Noodle Girl she's Flower Girl.
Yeah, that's
Noodle,
true. Fair point.
He's Noodle Guy. And she doesn't really have nothing to do with why he's there.
Right.
But then you go back to 4, they kick it back up. You know what it is? Position of power, swim.
Yeah.
5, she's position of power.
Yeah.
And then in 6, they drop the ball. She's not in a position of power. If anything, she messes up, which causes a lot of the damsel in distress.
Now, what's interesting about that episode is the lady, I don't know what her position is. I guess the project manager, whoever, the lady that comes in and causes trouble. She is from the manga. She's one of the repurposed characters that they used in the episode. So, and there's a lot more going on with her. She's horribly underutilized, but you can almost tell based on her characterizations that that's the kind of woman the Kentaro character would have gone to, I want to say converted, but would have wooed.
Right.
And yeah, so it's an interesting. I would have to say that if anything, it's their weakest episode.
And you said it right when you used the word converted.
Yeah.
Right. Because again, episode 3 and episode 6, he didn't really need to convert them so much as rescue them.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. And now, so now that brings up an interesting question to me, in my eyes here, is was there a girl you think he should have ended up with?
They were trying to make you feel like he's going to end up with 6. Aren't you going to go after him? Yes, but I need to go ahead and finish the film. Fuck all the
Yeah, I feel like Madam President and Reiko and even the mayor's daughter, that was more, it was a purely a sexual relationship that they were seeking. But I feel like episode 3, Flower Girl and the Che character were the ones that they tried to represent as a more genuine romantic relationship.
Mhm.
Concur? Yeah.
I concur. I agree totally. I mean, it is
It's
what
the
it
way
is.
it's the way he talks about. It's when we're talking about love, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Take me, take me, take me."
Right.
But even when she's trying to get, when Noodle Girl, Flower Girl, that's her name, Flower
Udon
Girl.
girl, actually, but go on.
Udon Flower, is that what we're going to go with? We're going to hybrid
Udon
her?
Girl. We'll go with Udon Girl because in episode 6 she comes to cook everybody udon. Let's go with Udon Girl.
Begrudgingly. So Udon Girl, right? That's also the first time where she uses the word love. It's for the man you love.
Yeah, like knowingly, as if to
Knowingly.
imply that that I realize this is me that you're talking to.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It isn't where he should be, I think, but I feel like that's who he should have ended up with. That's my personal opinion on the matter.
I will say that's probably the most disingenuous episode they have.
Episode
It's
3?
How so?
Episode 3?
Yeah, episode 3. He's talking about episode 3, Lynette. All right,
You didn't
explain,
like
Brian.
episode 3? You're gonna have to explain that one because I like that.
Yeah.
episode. Mostly not for the girl. I didn't really care for. I just thought it was funny to see him beat someone up and then try to rescue to save a girl's. to
When
save the
he-
girl. Yeah.
No, yeah, totally. No, when he's outside the car while they're getting it on and he's just writing notes and then he stands up. So he stands up and I'm like, all right, well, he's got the information. Now he knows what he's going to do. No, not Kentaro. Kentaro doesn't stop there. No, it's, excuse me. Did you really mean all that shit you just said? What the fuck, dude? And that's the difference between Kentaro and me, is I would have taken that information and ran with it. But he's like, nope, I'm going to confront this guy.
But here, when I say disingenuous, they do a great job at showing what his character is, right?
I agree.
For the first 2 episodes, right?
Yeah.
The first episode, we even talked about it, is that when it came to a confrontation, he was going to pretend like he's going to do shit and then turn away.
Yeah. Agreed.
Right. So even here, how he got to this whole part of being here, it wasn't because of the fact that he was anything that the girls did drew him here, right? So the first one, I see his Madam President. Oh my gosh, I'm going to make this huge plea to do it. Episode 2, I need somebody to clean my house, and it's the whole. He's a poor little woman who's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He's
So
stepping up. And by the end of it, they're lusting after Kentaro versus Che and this girl who they're more romantically inclined. Like they're more into him for his generosity and his kindness. Because, all right, look, Reiko's riding off into the sunset, chasing him down, like ride me wet and put me away. You know what I mean? Like she wants him.
But everybody else wants him because of the same type of, they misjudged him and they underestimated him. But the same thing. But they both reckon, oh my God, he did all this. That means he was listening. They see the qualities, but her.
Right. No, I see what you're saying. Episode 3, it's not There's no discovery. He's the same person he is to her at the beginning as he was at the end. I see what you're saying. It's a valid argument, I think.
It was just the first departure compared to the other 4 episodes that had a strong beginning and end, and it's like that one and then 6. They're not the crazy insane endings like the other episodes.
Now, it's just to be clear here, we're tearing into this, but there is no bad episode. This is like your least favorite slice of a pizza, right? The whole pie is amazing. It's just if you got to pick one that didn't have quite as many toppings as the other slice, like these are the weaker slices. It's still delicious. It's still amazing. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I do. I still say that. Go ahead.
Even as we're talking about and we're critiquing each of these episodes, there are some wonderful things that happen in each of them. Even
Absolutely.
in part 6, and I think I'm gonna get off part. I was gonna say part. I said that Shay isn't my favorite, and
Right.
I think because she gets overshadowed by everybody else that comes back.
Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah.
She doesn't really get a chance to shine.
With anything.
Right.
Anything. Every person that he met is coming back to save him. So it really is, he's the golden boy. It's like he finally matured into the golden boy. And everybody he calls back into.
Yeah, it's like he was the device to bring everyone else back for their little bit, for an ending, pretty much.
It was their Avengers Assemble moment.
Right.
There's no better analogy for it in this day and age than that. Fun musings, for no reason whatsoever, mindlessly. His bike has 3 different names. In the anime, it's the Mikazuki 5. In the Japanese version, it's the Crescent Moon. And then in the manga, it's the 3-day moon. Why? Don't know. Just thought it was an interesting tidbit. Might be worth knowing.
All right. We need to find out, what does Mikazuki 5 stand for?
It just sounds dope, so rule of cool. That's what I'm going with on that one.
Okay, so the 3-day moon actually is the waxing crescent moon.
Okay. The waxing crescent moon. So that's why they went with just crescent moon on the...
What does Mikazuki transfer into?
I don't know.
Like, I'm Googling as fast as I can.
While he's Googling, there's other interesting bits, like there's call-outs, right?
Mikazuki is the Japanese word for crescent moon.
You lie.
That's what it says here. Mikazuki is the Japanese word for crescent moon.
See, this show just gets more meta the more you talk about it.
So the names stayed the same, but it didn't at the same time.
That's pretty clever.
Can I say for the record, I didn't even know this, but my favorite moon is a crescent moon.
Really? I thought your favorite moon was a sailor type.
That was mine.
Was a what?
The sailor kind.
Sailor kind.
No, that was Lynette.
That's me.
I know, but the joke just worked with you.
I'm more of a full moon guy, but so
But guess what? Even the Sailor Moon is a crescent moon.
In episode 6, the character Tetsuya Engawa, who is a caricature, a very clear, heavy caricature of the original manga creator, is voiced by him. He comes in to do his own work for that, which I thought was fun.
In the cartoon?
Yeah. So for episode 6, he voiced his own character. He pulled a Hasselhoff. Obviously not for the English one. I don't know who that guy was. And obviously the series hanging on the wall, Golden Girl, reference to the series itself, very meta. But the animation director is credited as Mr. Wakamoto, and the animation director on the actual series was a Mr. Kawamoto. So they were very leaning into the meta humor on this one. And that's just me scraping the surface. I'm willing to bet the rest of the crew is probably named after people who actually worked on the series.
Like
Probably.
even oh my gosh, like they dropped the ball a lot in episode 6. Like the thing that stands out the most to me is the whole them drawing the boobs.
Right? Okay. Yeah, they're having a deep philosophical discussion on how to draw. I was very educational. Just saying.
So educational.
No, the whole episode is just there's so much meta in there. It's brilliant. Plus, I got to give him a strike on that bit because if you're gonna learn to draw, you need to learn it from Satoshi Urashihara and nobody else. That's just me. We'll get to that reference in another episode.
Which one?
Right.
Please, I need to know.
That's Plastic Little. So, anywho,
You'll know it when you see it. That's all I got.
Oh, you're gonna. It's anyway. That's neither here nor there. That's another episode. So, all right. So now did it age well? Right. That's the question. Do you feel like in this day and age, a series like Golden Boy, does it hold up, Brian?
The chivalry aspects of it, yeah, because you would go the same way you go from Revenge of the Nerds, and then it evolves into Super Bad, and then it evolves into whatever new nerd thing it is going to be. There's always going to be something here. We just have not seen what that version is today. We haven't. The same way you can see there are different tropes for your different type of anime characters. I have not seen a Kentaro Oe since. Somebody who reminds me of him.
He's very unique. Yeah. Vic, what about you? What do you think?
Okay, so this one is actually a slightly complicated matter considering how the world is at the moment. If you grew up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, absolutely, it's definitely for you. If you grew up in the 2000s and the 2010, it may be too much for you. You may be easily offended by 90% of the show. So it's one of those where, personally, yes, it holds up. It is still bloody hilarious. It is one of the few shows that I will actually actively go for the English dub over the original Japanese because it is comedy gold. It is hilarious. But people nowadays, the younger ones, they may be put off by it, and again, they're entitled to their opinion, even if it's wrong.
All I gotta say is Louis C.K.
Mm.
They would have compared him doing the toilets to Louis C.K. and he would have. I'm shocked it's on Crunchyroll. In the form that it's in. Right. I have never seen nudity on Crunchyroll.
Then you haven't really looked.
Yeah, you haven't looked.
Vic's like, hold up, let me send you a playlist.
Do you have your parental controls on?
It's on there.
Because there are things on there
usually shows that are airing simultaneously, shows that are airing, like this season, you normally get the censored versions. Some shows that are aired already uncensored in Japan, if they make it over here, there's a possibility they show up. I've seen Crunchyroll at times have 2 or 3 different versions of the same show. Because 1 week in Japan, it aired the censored version. A few days later to a few weeks later, you have the slightly less censored version. And even after that, you'll get a full uncensored version.
Hey.
But you don't always get it.
Feel free to share those with me.
Yeah, if you get lucky, you can get the simulcast. You get the raw translations right there. So there's some I've caught a couple where
my gosh,
translations can be very harsh because it's a direct translation, and you're like, oh, I never knew he talked like that.
And they do it. It's pretty fast turnaround these days.
Yeah, usually within an hour of the Japanese airing, but they get the shows on average 2 to 3 days beforehand for that, and that's bitten them in the butt a few times.
So now, Lynette, your perspective on this. I'm interested in hearing. Do you feel like this is an anime that holds up? Do you feel like this is something that could find success in this day and age?
I would have to say, that I agree that anybody who's born after the 90s probably would take it too seriously and not really enjoy it for what it is. It's a very good
Which is
anime.
awesome.
It has a great comedy. It is adult themed, but at the end of the day, you got someone who's got a really good moral character, even though he's kind of in some way.
Yeah, that was not for the
But if you
preteen
look at
lessons
it,
out
you know,
there.
the stuff that he does is very honorable. He does all, you know, even though he walks around with a most of the time, he's he's doing something very honorable, and I don't think the new generation would get past the to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. I think I agree with all of you. I don't think that this show could find. Well, I don't think it could. To say it couldn't find an audience is a lie. It could definitely find an audience, but I don't think it could ever achieve success. Not
I think that
not really.
the best way to say it is that when I tell you I relate to Kentaro Oi so much in my life, I have been that guy who's been a good guy and then still had a, you know, and
Yes.
and
Yes.
I would say that my hardest problem would be apologizing for that.
Mm.
You know, when did I sniff toilets? No,
No, no, that's
Are you sure?
but but look. Just because I didn't sniff toilets, if I had the chance to be with a girl, I sniffed her bra. Not gonna lie.
there. Okay, so he's, but he's a caricature, right? Kentaro's a caricature.
And that's the problem. Yeah,
He's noble and he's a pervert and that is essentially most well raised men. Pardon me, but he is a caricature, right? The toilet obsessions are played for humor. It is very much that, and a lot of his extreme reactions to things are caricatures of things that I certainly agree. I can say that I've felt and thought things a lot the way Kentaro does, but never to that extreme. You know, the caricature aspect of it is shouldn't overshadow a lot of the depth that he has. I think.
like the best moment to talk about in this moment, when we're talking about, is back to the swimming pool. When she like says, "Can you keep up with me?" And the motivation he gets by swimming faster, it's not drugs, it's not anything. It's the sight of there. I I have been
There was a
stimulated the
purpose to his
same way.
madness.
There's no way to pantomime. Yes, he was chasing after her. He was chasing after her and was just drawn in and couldn't stop. And it ended exactly the way you would
The way
hope it
you
would
think.
have. It's 100%.
And you know the thing about
They
it
knew
is,
the audience.
look, she understood all until she saw the.
It was an honest mistake until
She looked
Captain Winky
down.
was out.
She's like, "What were you thinking,
In the
man?"
sanctuary of the pool.
Man, I'm gonna go ahead and raise my hand. That would have been me. That would have been me.
Yes, but in the same
Yes.
vein, he also increased children participation in the pool. So
Yep.
by teaching them how to
That's
swim.
They
you're
would have.
absolutely right.
They would have said the same argument against Bill Cosby.
No.
He gave us the Cosby kids, but he drugged the women. That's the problem.
We got picture pages out of it though, so damn. Kentaro Oe, sex offender.
Oh, He's oh my gosh.
Nowadays, yes, he would be.
Yeah, now
Even back. Go ahead.
no, you're right. Even back then, but back then they just hit him and walked away.
You're right. Yeah. It's no lawsuits to be had in that one. He probably would have been able to defend himself, though, considering he was a near graduate in a law degree.
Why would he defend? He would confess to it.
You're absolutely right. Yes, and he would bow and plead and. Oh man, yeah. It's this is a hard one to look back on with a modern lens. I agree, but I don't mind looking back on this at all.
No, man, I look back on it and I see how I got to be where I am now.
This is
I love the life I have now. But the honor that he has exhibited, it allowed me to be brave enough to be able to talk about it, to even be
right.
where I am. There's a level of honesty that he has when when he I guess it's with himself, because it's not like he's being honest with anybody else, you know. But his inner monologue tells him, "I shouldn't be doing this, but God damn it, she bringing it on." I mean, his inner monologue is what I believe mine sounds like.
I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna accept that as your final thoughts. That's what because that's where I was about to lead into. So yeah,
I'll take that.
Vic, what are your final thoughts on Golden Boy?
Oh God, it's first and foremost, it is literally a golden series. It is comedy gold left and right. My best is actually I'm gonna steal a review from Crunchyroll. This was written in 2015 by a username Monster Man. Okay, and it goes, I'm not a fan of ecchi anime, and Golden Boy does push my tolerance levels in this regard. However, with Golden Boy, I overlook it due to its superb comedic timing, hilarious expressions and reactions, great characters, some excellent animation for its time, and also it doesn't hurt that Kentaro Oe is such a likable character. Yeah, he's a bit of a pervert, but he's genuinely a nice guy, and you can't help to like him. And I think that's an accurate description of the series. Yes, it is a little pervy, but it is hilarious, and like I said earlier, it's one of the few series I will actually watch the dub because it is, it has me laughing so loud. If you're having one of those bad days or anything, this is a great show to put you in a good mood.
I wholeheartedly agree. Lynette, final thoughts.
I would say this is the best episode to watch if you don't want to take anything too serious. You see someone's honest views on his own, honest views of the world around him, and then you just see his reaction. So it's like one of those things where you put a cucumber in front of a cat and watch it jump around. So I mean, that's what it kind of reminds me.
I still don't understand the whole cat cucumber thing. I don't know how cats are so scared of it.
Right? You don't understand why it's happening. You don't understand what's going on, but it's funny, and you just can't stop watching it. So I would say if you can go into it in that mindset of just enjoy what's happening and don't try to put too much seriousness on it, you will enjoy the anime. And that's how I'll go.
I like it. Yeah, I'm gonna steal everybody else's leads here. It's fantastic in its earnesty. It is written in an era where sexualizations and comedy were in a different place, but it holds up because of the earnestness of the characters and strong representation for both sexes. Kentaro is a male lead, but again, I've circled back to it. There's so many strong female characters in this, even if they are the object of his lust. For most of them, they're all strong, empowered, brilliant people who are in control of their own sexuality. And I feel like that's not common in anime these days. So, check it out. Revisit this. This is, if you've never visited it. If you've never visited with this, you should.
Tur did it. Visitor
Yeah.
did it.
You
Yeah,
should
visitor did it.
absolutely. It's worth your time. It really is. And I
Well, a little bit of time.
it's a very small amount of it. It is shorter than one Lord of the Rings movie to watch this entire series. So
It
you watched all
is.
6 episodes in less than 3 hours.
There have been longer arcs in Dragon Ball Z than this series.
it took longer for
One
Frieza
fight
to
in
die.
Dragon Ball Z is longer than this series.
One fight. Yes, it is. It is easily shorter than one Spirit Bomb.
The fact that this hasn't been released on Blu-ray is both interesting to me, yet also frustrating to me.
It is a travesty.
I don't know if it's because of the content and a company like Discotek's just afraid to pull the trigger. They seem pretty bold about their releases. Or if it's that maybe they just can't find the masters and they don't have a way of doing it. I don't know. I don't know how this hasn't been released in HD yet. It damn well should. That's my stance on that.
It sounds like a question for Discotek.
Right? Guess
To
we'll
the
have
Twitter.
to reach out to them.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. So I guess, folks, it's going to be our show. A little over an hour now. It's easy to talk about the series. I could probably go for another hour.
I don't regret nothing.
No, I regret nothing. If you've got social media handles, let's go ahead and hand those out now. Vic, let the fine people listening know how they can reach you.
Okay, well, if you got anything other than complaints, because I really don't want the complaints. I don't care for them. Twitter's easiest. You find my Muppet on Twitter. It's at kaiju_geekgrotto.com. Again, that's at KAIJU_GEEKGRTTO.
No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
That's where he's at.
No. I understand, but we can't end the show just yet.
Why? What do you got?
Super Dimensional Fortress Macross.
Just had to squeeze it in one time.
Not on my
Right.
watch.
All right, Brian. How about you, man? How people get a hold of you?
Gets backwards. That is SKITZZTAKS. That's on Twitter. I'm not on anything else. You can find me on Facebook. But if I don't know you, I think that you're trying to sell me some.
Probably.
Yeah.
And now, Lynette, I know you're like me and you abstain from social media. Bravo. Well done. So, on that note, we'll call this an episode. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, keep calm and study. You've just been privy to the mindless midlife musings of the anime nerd, presented by Geek Grotto. Follow the podcast on Twitter at Geek Grotto. For show notes and corrections or for general geeky fun, you can visit our website at geek-grotto.com. If you would like to sponsor the show, you can do so on the podcast's Red Circle host site, redcircle.com/shows/MMMAN. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please like, follow, and subscribe.